Good evening, and we'll bring this meeting to order. Welcome to the April 30th Rutherford County School Board meeting. Leading our pledge tonight will be the National Association of Secondary School Principals Assistant Principal of the Year for the state of Tennessee, Ms. Serrano from Siegel High School. Was that a long enough introduction?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Nicely done. If you would please join the board in a moment of silence. Thank you. Okay, we've had our work session, and several of the issues we've already discussed. As far as we'll entertain a motion for approval of the agenda, unless there's some comments or questions. Second, Mr. Hodge, and second by Mr. Estes. Any other comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Now we're going to move on to approval of the consent agenda. Any questions, comments, deletions? Hearing none, for a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Young? Second. And Mr. Estes. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay. I don't see any visitors. Okay. Mr. Odom, number 7.
Number 7 is our recognition, and it's for the National Association of Secondary School Principals Assistant Principal of the Year for the state of Tennessee. Rutherford County's done very well with this in the past. I think a year or so ago, Ms. Tori Ruiz was here, if y'all remember that, from Laverne. Mm-hmm. But we have tonight Ms. Nivea Sereno, who, come up to the mic just a minute if you don't mind doing that. And it's a really honor to be recognized. You got a trip to Washington and information. Now, this is a lady after my own. This lady understands data, okay? I'm going to tell y'all that. So we can have a really good conversation sometime, and she's a real benefit to us as a system, especially Siegel High School with her ability to interpret data and get back with the PLCs and talk about it some. Tell us a little bit about your experience. Am I okay asking her to do that?
Yes, good? Sir, please.
Yeah, tell how that worked out for you. Yeah, tell us.
Visits. I got to meet with Representative Scott Desjardins and Senator Alexander, and also met with Senator Corker, so that was amazing, and being able to discuss educational policy with them. I will also have to say that what's really awesome is that all of the assistant principals of the year, when we met there, that we have all really bonded. In fact, we created our own like Twitter chat, hashtag APOY15, so that we can stay in contact with each other, and we've all shared a lot of our experiences and we're helping each other. So in fact, I'm talking to the APOY from Maryland tomorrow, and we're going to talk about her AP Summer Enrichment program she has going on at her school. And I'm also been in contact with the Georgia Assistant Principal of the Year, and I'm going to be talking to her about this thing called the main thing as far as the school improvement. So it's been very beneficial and amazing. So thank you. I'm honored and humbled.
Great.
We're honored that you're representing us, because I know you represent us very, very well.
Very proud of you.
Thank you very much.
I'll just share that, and I've emailed this as well, but I talked with Congressman Desjardins' office just after you were there, and the reaction was that this was the most compelling argument for public education of any lobbyist that had been in his office came from you, and I really appreciate the things that you were able to share with him. We don't have him over the hump yet. He's still thinking about things and not sure where he's going to come out. And the legislation needs to be tweaked, quite honestly. But your words of assurance and your perspective was so well received.
Great. I told him to give me a call.
Yeah, good.
Well, apparently you're also an education ambassador too, so congratulations on that too. So,
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
She may have had more influence than your trip up there.
They told me in no uncertain terms that she had much more influence.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I appreciate all the work you do and the great work at Siegel High. Thank you.
Number 8.
Number 8, and there is a typographical error, and I'm going to read it corrected, and the 125 is, will be 150. The instruction department is requesting approval of the following changes for the 2015 online school course development instruction. Student tuition will be, should be 150 per 1/2 credit for high school coursework, as was in 2013 and 2014. Currently, teachers are paid $125 per student enrolled in their online course. Instruction is proposed the following plan. Teachers will receive a base pay for the first course per term of $200. The term is defined as a 8-week quarter during the academic school year, or 8 weeks in the summer divided into 2 4-week sessions. If a teacher is teaching more than one course in the same term, the teacher will receive an additional base pay of $100 per course. Additionally, teachers will receive their traditional pay of $125 per student as they do now. Recommend approval. The motion to approve the instruction department's request for the online school teachers to be paid as base pay as presented.
The recommendation,
So move.
Second.
Gordon and Mr. Holliday. Further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Good.
Mr. Zago, I'd like for some time, we'll put it on another upcoming board meeting, how many actual students took the online courses this year. That would be an interesting. Really? I knew it was really growing, so that's interesting.
We're really able to change many lives with that as well, giving people opportunities to take classes that they never would have had room to take more rigorous classes. They're getting some of those half credits out of the way and freeing up time for their senior year to take advanced courses there.
What he's talking about is a lot of the central magnet, a lot of these kids that want to take so many different courses, and there's just so many hours in a day, so they go in and load up on another online course, so they're freed up to take another one in high school. That's great.
A large majority of Central Magnet students taking what we call those basic classes, so they can free up those additional blocks of time so that they can take AP classes or additional type of math classes.
I know we have an extensive summer school at 2 or 3 sites, I guess, every year, and they go actually to the school. But do we have online in the summertime?
Yes, sir, we do. We have 2 4-week periods there so that they can catch up. We have course recovery too. It's doing that. We just have 1 site for high schools now because of the availability of many different course recovery classes during the school year, as we have 2 sites for middle school.
Thank you.
9A.
Siegel High School under bleacher storage building. Principal Larry Creasy has requested permission to construct a 14 feet by 48 foot storage building under the home side of the football stadium bleachers at Siegel High School. The building will be used to store equipment for all sports. There's no gender equity issue. The construction will be masonry with asphalt shingles. The application for campus construction has been completed by the school and approved by the engineering and construction department. The estimated cost of the building is $18,610. The only cost to the Rutherford County School Board is the exterior paint that will be furnished through the maintenance department to match the existing paint colors. All other costs will be paid by funds from Siegel Boosters and school funds. Recommend approval. The motion is to approve construction of a 14-foot by 48-foot storage building at Siegel High School as presented.
So moved.
Mr. Holliday? And Mr. Hodge. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. B.
B is the Thurman Francis Arts Academy storage shed. Principal Jeff Duke has requested permission to purchase and install a 12-foot by 20-foot storage shed at Thurman Francis Arts Academy for sports and clubs, equipment, and materials. It will be located at the back of the main building between portable number 4 and the block shed. Mr. Duke would like to buy from an existing bid that is in place from Corner Buildings for the amount of $3,695 at no cost to the Rutherford County School Board. And the motion is to approve purchase and installation by Corner Buildings for bid number 3076 of a 12-foot by 20-foot storage shed at Thurman Francis Arts Academy for $3,695 as presented at no cost to the Rutherford County School Board.
Heard the motion. Mr. Estes? And Mr. Young. Further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? C.
C is a professional services contract for topographic survey of the John Coleman Elementary School site and the Roy Waldron addition site. Enoch Gerald of Huddleston Steel Engineering, Inc. has submitted a professional services contract for the John Coleman Elementary School site and the Roy Waldron addition site of topographic survey. Both proposals include preparing a topographic survey for the sites, including locating existing buildings, utilities, and other visible features. The cost of the survey for John Coleman is $8,620 and for Roy Waldron $4,990. Recommend approval. Motion to approve professional services contracts for Huddleston Steel Engineering, Inc. for topographic surveying of the proposed John Coleman site in the amount of $8,620, proposed Roy Waldron addition site in the amount of $4,990 as presented.
So moved.
Mr. Holliday? And Mr. Young. Further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And D.
D is a proposal for boundary survey of proposed Rocky Fork property for middle and elementary school. Joseph Brown of Brown Land Surveying has submitted a professional services proposal for a boundary survey of the proposed Rocky Fork for purposes of purchasing the 75 acres of property by the Rutherford County School Board. The scope of work for this proposal includes deed research for subject and adjacent properties, a field run survey of boundary features, locating boundary lines, structures, improvements, and visible utilities, setting of the new property corners and locating encroachments, and producing a new survey map and legal description. The cost of the proposal is $6,000. Recommend approval. The motion is to approve a professional services contract for Brown Land Surveying LLC for surveying of the 75-acre tract Rocky Fork property in the amount of $6,000 as presented.
Is that Mr. Young? Mr. Hodge, I'm sorry. Thank you. Mr. Hodge?
Second.
And Mr. Holliday. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Hodge, I'm sorry, my hearing's just not what it should be tonight, I guess. Thank you. Number 10.
Number 10 is under financial matters. Teacher and visitor lunch prices for 2015-2016. The federal government requires that the following criteria be met in establishing teacher meal prices. The criteria is as follows for 2014-15. The highest district full pay meal price is currently $2.25. The federal government reimbursement for full pay meals is currently 35 cents, and the federal government USDA entitlement funding is currently 28 cents for a current total of $2.88. Therefore, the meals price set will be at $2.90. The criteria for 2015-16 is estimated at the following. The highest district full pay price meal is still $2.25. The federal government reimbursement for full pay meals is estimated at 38 cents, and the federal government USDA entitlement funding currently would be 29 cents. The new total is $2.92, so the meal price will be set at $3. Recommend approval of the motion to set the 2015-16 lunch prices at $3 for teachers and staff and $3.25 for visitors. And let's clear it for our people that may be watching on television. This is not the price of the student meals, okay? The federal government does not allow us to take reimbursement monies for teachers or parents or others that are visiting the school and eating with their children. That whoever visits or a teacher has to pay that reimbursement amount because they're not a child. It's not covered by that. So this would be for those visiting the school and the teachers at the school. So the motion is to set the 2015-16 lunch price at $3 for teachers and staff and $3.25 for visitors.
Heard the motion? So moved. Mr. Young? And Mr. Hodge. Further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Also like to remind the viewing audience that we've had a work session and have vetted and discussed and maybe even dissected some of these pretty thoroughly in our past Tuesday work session. Number 11.
Number 11 is rezoning of Stewart's Creek Elementary and Stewart's Creek Middle parcels into Rocky Springs Elementary and Rock Springs Middle zones. Currently, 2 new subdivisions are being developed, Woodcrest and Buckingham, and are zoned for Stewart's Creek Elementary and Middle. These 2 subdivisions are connected to the existing Woodmont subdivision, which is zoned for Rock Springs Elementary and Middle. Without rezoning, buses would have to enter the Rock Springs zone to transport students to the Stewart's Creek schools. Currently, only 3 students would be affected. So the recommend approval of the motion to approve the zone lines as presented.
Heard the motion?
I think they have a map, I think, for this.
So moved.
Mr. Young and Mr. Estes. Further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Number 12.
Number 12 is the naming of the Laverne Lake Elementary School Library Media Center. And pursuant to policy 3.210, the director may make recommendation to the board for naming a portion of a school campus. Recommend approval. The motion is to approve the naming of Laverne Lake Elementary School's Library Media Center after Joanne Whitmire. Mr. Chair, could I ask the principal there, Mr. Jeff McCann, would you mind if he speaks tonight as to why his staff is seeking to do that? If you'll come to the microphone, Mr. McCann.
Welcome, Mr. McCann.
I appreciate the consideration in this matter, too. Ms. Whitmire was the first really and only librarian we've had since we opened in 2007. And she died suddenly in November of this past fall of pancreatic cancer, shortly after finding out she was pregnant with their first child. So the kids at school took it really hard, and a lot of the staff that she was very close with have taken it hard, too. And we feel like this would give some sort of closure to the family and the school itself, too. So that's all we'd like to do, is just name the library after Joanna Whitmire.
There was quite a bit of press coverage on that at the time,
Certainly.
if you remember.
We have a motion. Mr. Hodge, and second by Ms. Moore. Okay. Further discussion?
You know, there have been times that I have expressed concern about naming and that perhaps we do it too often, but I want to say openly on the record and with heartfelt sincerity, this is an appropriate measure. The time that was spent here, the suddenness, and the circumstances that we find ourselves in now, this is good for the community, this is good for the school, and good for the students. I know it'll be handled in a really nice way.
Well,
Thank you, Mr. Holliday.
if this passes, I'm sure it will there be a dedication ceremony?
We plan a small ceremony on May 22nd that morning with some of the family and some of the students.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Could you let Ms. Michaels know when that time and
Certainly
date,
will.
please, as you
Certainly
firm that
will.
up?
Yes,
Thank
sir,
you.
I certainly will. Thank you. Thank you.
Can. Board. Okay, number 13 is the insurance update. Mr. Sandvig, are you carrying the bucket of water on that today?
Yes, I am. We didn't have much business to transact this month at the Insurance Committee. The bids for our voluntary benefits, the optional life insurance, flex spending accounts, and our COBRA administration were awarded. And the property casualty bid was awarded. No big changes in any of those. And a contract was accepted to provide our Tennessee OSHA safety inspections. The employee who did that had left, and we can do it for less money contracting it out. And our trends in the health insurance fund, we had a good month. We look back 18 months when we're setting the rates. We had some that weren't so good earlier on, but that's pretty much it, I believe. Unless
Okay.
y'all have any questions.
I apologize, I was unable to attend that particular meeting, but I'll try not to miss any more. Board members, questions for Mr. Sandvig? Thank you, Mr. Sandvig. We'll move to number 14, Mr. Hodge with the TLN update.
I think everyone has a copy. Mr. Odom was gracious enough to share the House report with us, or the last, I guess the last week of the session. I looked over it, and really I just think, to me personally, there's just a couple of them that struck me, I guess. The House Bill 0157 about the charter school insurance, allowing them to basically come off state plans and basically do what they want. I guess the reason that this one right here concerns me is I had discussion with a couple of our legislators about playing by the rules, and that just verifies they don't play by the same rules that we play by. So that's the only reason I highlighted that one. And the other one is, if you go over to the back, the House Bill 0138. I think that's basically a voucher bill. If I read it right, money going to private education, and I think that one will probably affect us some to a degree. Like I said, the point I'm making is taking public dollars to private. Those are really the only two items that struck me. Also, I think everybody got email from Mr. Evans today on the vouchers with the Indiana vouchers. I guess I would like to say with the board's permission, or anybody objects to it, let Mr. Evans send it to the legislators, because I think it was brought up to us by one of the legislators using Indiana as an example. So,
Yes, sir.
if nobody objects, I'll be glad to ask Mr. Evans or Mr. Flurry. You can ask him if
Ms. Michaels is making a note.
Yep, I think Ms. Michaels is taking your, and going to handle that immediately.
Well, I just think it's important we get this.
Yes,
Mr. Hodge, if I could ask, just in case they might miss that email, we may even be able to post a link to that on our website, and the general public might be interested in taking a look at that as well, if as you say, if there's no objection among the board.
Good idea.
I just think it's important to put it out to the general public that public education's not all that bad.
One that at the pre-K advisory council meeting this morning, House Bill 0035, which you will make sure you get a copy. It's been taken off notice, but it'll certainly come back next year, and that is trying to do away with the pre-K program, which affects so many of our economically disadvantaged children, and that's one that I think we need to have a voice in too, because so many of those children may not have access to that opportunity otherwise. So certainly would like that not to go away. So, but it's again, I'll get you a copy of that, Mr. Hodge, too.
I think the larger issue here on both these subjects and others, and I don't know what the solution is, but we have got to figure out a way to work with, influence, advise, counsel our state legislature on I mean, and I don't know any other way to do it other than what we've done to this point, and the public is not near as involved as I would like them to be. I don't think that they understand, in many cases, exactly vouchers, for instance, exactly what that really and truly means and how dangerous it is for schools where we have nearly 42,000 people attending. That's a large majority of our citizens are involved just in attending, parents, grandparents, so forth. But anyway, I mean, as a board, and I'll throw the Murfreesboro City School Board in on this too, we've failed to get our point across. And it's been made numerous times, and many of us have made it in person, and Mr. Hodge particularly has made it numerous times in person, and we don't appear to be getting anywhere. And the session's about to come to an end down there now, and maybe we have dodged a number of bullets this time. Unfortunately, I have a rumor has it that they're going to meet again at some point, and who knows?
In the biennium, they can bring, I mean, if it's just off notice now, it'll come back automatically on the second year of the biennium. So.
We ought to all be kind of on the same page, which and then the bottom line is to help students and teachers, school systems in general, succeed immediately and long term. And I don't see that we're on that same page. I don't think they're on that page at all. I'm not even sure they've read the page.
Well, and I think the whole key to it is a money issue. Bottom line, I mean, when you put money in the back pockets, it's basically it's what's going on, and their votes are being bought. I mean, you get right down to the bottom line, and I mean, you sit right there and you can. You go look at the contributions. It's all public information. See where it's coming from. I mean, you know, when they won't sit there and debate you or talk to you about it, you're not going to make a whole lot of headway. And I think about all we do, just keep doing like we're doing, and I just hope, I hope nothing real critical goes through, because what I'm afraid of, the general public's gonna wake up and it's gonna be too late. And that's my biggest concern with all of it.
And there's,
Get through and the general public's gonna wonder what's going on.
and there's such an inequity, you know, at Legislative Plaza right now, because we may have 5 or 6 public school lobbying individuals, and these outside for-profit or special interest, you know, they're well over 100, and funding, and like I said, they've got quite a bit of money, and it's just, I'm having a difficult time grasping public tax dollars going into programs that have no accountability back to the public. And that's just so foreign to me that the accountability part has been lost in all of this. So.
Well, I know this is kind of a general discussion here, but this voucher thing, I'll just center on that. Why are so many people down there trying to get this done and trying to influence legislators in any way possible? All right, now I'll answer the question. Money. There's money there. A lot of money. And whose money is it? The taxpayers' money is going to pay for this, a large part of it, and there's going to be a profit made. They're not interested in the education of children. Give me a break. It's money. I'm sorry.
You're exactly right. We need help with the media. The media needs to get involved and report this information and get it out there. It's mind-boggling to me, some of the issues that the media will report on, something as important as vouchers. We don't see it in the papers. We don't see it on the news broadcasts even. So, yeah, we really need all the support we can get to get this word out there. And I challenge the news media to get it out there for us.
Well said.
Okay. Mr. Hodge, thank you very much. Appreciate your work.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. So, Mr. Holliday, FRN update.
From the federal perspective, the legislation is really kind of laying dormant right now. The Senate has, of course, passed their bill out of committee, and it's scheduled sometime in late May to come to the Senate floor. In the meantime, the House is looking at what they may need to do to their bill, H.R. 5, and whether or not it is still on the same track with what the Senate is approving. So we may see some aggressive amendments coming from the House to try and take what is really about a 5-year-old bill in the House and try and include some of the things that maybe were appropriate or credible in the Senate bill. Specifically, there was some bold language about parental rights in the Senate bill that gave parents the option to opt out of standardized testing and things of that nature from a federal perspective. There was also very strong language in the Senate bill about what the Department of Education could not do in coercing curriculum in the way that they interact with state departments of education. So those kind of things we may see get strengthened in the House bill. What I took note of this past week was something that I have been observant of and brought to the attention of the board from time to time, and we have discussed how we address gender identity in our schools in an age group of 18 and under. It is something that is being discussed in our culture and our society right now, and the indication that I have received from TSBA as well as from the National School Board Association is that their best advice was to observe and watch the oral arguments before the Supreme Court that took place this week. The court case was Obergefell versus Hodges. And so that case and its resolution and its impact, there are those in education who feel like it may be an indicator as to how we will address gender identity issues under 18. I think that's something that the board needs to maintain awareness of in that context. And so I raise that to fellow board members' attention as well.
Mr. Holliday. Board members, any questions for Mr. Holliday? Again, thank you, Mr. Holliday. Thank you, Mr. Hodge, again, for keeping up with the state legislation. And, of course, the federal legislation is ongoing. So we'll move on to general discussion. Mr. Odom, I think you shared with me Dr. Ash at Central Avenue. Is that for public consumption?
Well, I'm pretty sure it'll be posted up if it hasn't. Out of some 1,400 elementary and middle schools for value added this year, the Education Consumers Foundation Award, third place goes to Central Magnet School and Dr. Ash, and we will acknowledge this at the next board meeting. So it'll be on the 21st, I believe, of May. So I contacted him this morning. We're going to have to put him on early because he has a honors reception for the students that night. So we'll get him on close to the 5 o'clock time frame so he can get back by 6. Can I share another thing that I think is good news too? Would it be okay?
Yes, sir.
We're kind of on abbreviated Tuesday night, so I did not bring this up. On Monday, Career and Technical Education Director Tyra Pilgrim and myself were invited to come to the Chamber of Commerce to meet with a group, and we walked into the room, and there was a person from the State Department of Education there representing it, and the program was that, and this is happening across the country, that when we're setting up career and technical education courses, when we're deciding what to teach in our schools, how do we involve business, industry? How do we know what's needed? And the fellow from Nashville, that was the State Department of Education, said, and I don't know whether they were paying for the study or not, but he said, I suggested to there were two ladies doing the study. They were from Harvard. Both of these ladies, they introduced themselves from Harvard. And he said, when we thought about this and doing the study, and why don't we go to a place that's already doing a lot of this? And so invite them to come up to Rutherford County and talk with us about it again to see what we were doing. You got the Business Education Partnership. You've got the workforce development. The Megatronics came out of that workforce thing from our industry and business here in Rutherford County. Said we need more students trained. The Nissan, the Bridgestone, some of the other smaller suppliers said this, and that's the kind of things that we told them because of the involvement. And it's your support of career and technical education. It's certainly the Chamber of Commerce recognition that public schools and our high schools can play a part in this and what happens, and the movement towards it. So I thought it was an honor that they thought it worth their time to come to Rutherford County and talk to us about how this works and what was happening.
I did an analysis this week at the office, and over 1,200 additional jobs have been announced in Rutherford County in the last 90 days. Our Chamber of Commerce is certainly due a measure of credit, but I know from experience the best, brightest, sharpest tool in their bag to get those businesses into Rutherford County that they use is our public education system. And there's another example of it in the Career and Technical Education program. It's an outstanding opportunity, and if we want to have some credibility, maybe with our legislators, who's really producing, who's creating these jobs here in Rutherford County? I don't think that the Chamber of Commerce is saying what wonderful legislation came out of Nashville that helped them to recruit those businesses into Rutherford County. I think it was the public education system. Maybe that's another reason why the perspective, opinion, and expertise of our public education system and our school board members should be more carefully and conscientiously considered by our legislators.
I shared that with the Health and Ed Committee Tuesday night at the end of that, if you saw that tape. Also shared with them, and we had talked about this before, that Nelson Mandela's oldest granddaughter that runs the Nelson Mandela Foundation in South Africa, is trying to find a way. She came and visited Stewart's Creek High School when she was visiting Murfreesboro, and she said they were having difficulty. They have the education piece, the academic piece, but they're not preparing their students to connect the academic piece with the jobs that may come after that. They have a gap, and they recognize that. And as I told the commissioners that night, I said, she has planned to come back and bring, it was my understanding, the Commissioner of Education from South Africa and another delegation to come and let them and look how in Rutherford County, Stewart's Creek High and all, how we're bridging from the academic side, to the career and technical, be it an engineering program or a health science program where we go out and the students go to hospitals and areas like that. We're just doing a whole lot of things that help connect. And now, it's so different. Some of our brightest students are taking career and technical education. They really are. Because they realize the connection and what it can do for them and how it opens up that opportunity. That Project Lead the Way, the two at Central Maine, the health one, which comes really out of New York, and the engineer, and the lady that's teaching engineering was a Saturn engineer for the engineering program there, and then you got the veterinary science program. They're kids that really can take a look at what the opportunities and how they can use the education they're getting to decide, what am I going to really major in college? Which direction do I want to go? And sometimes it's important for a child in career and technical education to decide, I thought I wanted to do this, but I really don't. And that keeps you from changing your major a lot of times in college, which happens, saves parents monies, and helps kids refocus. So we're able to do some things that not as risky in high school to give kids a chance to see this. And the state is coming back, and I don't know why they ever did away with it, but Mr. Estes, they're kind of coming back and offering next year. You remember that course where you rotated through several areas of CTE and spent at that time, kind of 6 weeks or so? They're bringing some of that back to let kids look again at all of these areas to decide, again, that's something I thought I wanted to do, but I do not want to do that. But the state has recognized that's important now, and they're bringing some of that back as the curriculum next year. You can probably speak to that better than I can because you were part of those rotations.
That means I was a little old, right? What we did at Oakland was rotate through every program in our CTE department, whether it was 6 or 8 weeks, depending on the students and how many programs we had. But it was a terrific way to find the kids that wanted to be in your program. Might let a kid know that he doesn't want to get his hands greasy or dirty and get into something else. But it was really a good program, and I hated to see them take it away, but I'm glad to hear it's coming back.
It's just, these board meetings have been so much fun here over the last several months because we get to celebrate academic excellence and athletic excellence and educators who have risen to that next level of excellence, and it's just been very gratifying for me to be a part of or witnessing that excellence and getting to celebrate it. So that's sure do smile when we have those kind of board meetings. So maybe we can keep those up.
Many of the board members were able to attend the Rutherford Education Association Spring Banquet, and we watched a number of teachers who will be retiring this year be recognized and honored appropriately. It always strikes me when that occurs, the amount of wisdom, the amount of experience that our system will lose. It always shocks me there for a little while, but then in a couple of weeks, I see new recruits come in, I see others step up to the challenge, and we continue to achieve excellence. That being said, I consistently said to those who I congratulated that evening, find a new way to continue to inject your excellence, your high standard into the children of Rutherford County. We are going to be innovative as a system about special contracts and special relationships with some of our retired teachers, about continuing to have them involved, give them the freedom in life that retirement certainly deserves, but at the same time allow them the opportunity to continue to share their wisdom with us as we take outstanding state-of-the-art education graduates from MTSU and from elsewhere, bring them into our system, let them be innovative in the classroom, but also have the influence and the mentorship of those who, how many, 35, 38, 40 plus years of classroom experience that were celebrated that evening. We are so fortunate to have so many who are long-standing in our system, and I want to congratulate all of those that were honored on Tuesday evening, and at the same time, look for new and innovative ways to continue to use their expertise. At the National School Board Association Conference, we heard Jane Pauley, I believe it was, who said, today, the person who will live to be 120, 125 has already been born. And if we're talking about retirement at 65, there's 40 plus years of contribution that individual is still going to make in some way. And we need to be innovative in finding ways for them to continue to be a contributor to our Rutherford County youth.
I'd say we have, with Mr. Jordan and Mr. Estes serving on this board after years of teaching and instructing students, they continue to serve in a different capacity. So I guess they mirror that comment, Mr. Holliday. Anybody else?
I want to just mention that the REA the other night, and Mr. Holliday has already mentioned it in one way. I'll say it another way. I got the distinct impression that we were welcomed with open arms. The REA was Rutherford Education Association. I think was genuinely glad to see us, and I thoroughly enjoyed the evening. Saw a lot of old friends, saw it, and made some new ones. But the relationship between the REA and school boards has not always been what we might have hoped. And I think we're definitely on the improve, and I got the definite impression that we were really welcomed. And also, they honored Dr. Bullen with a Friend of Education Award, kind of a lifetime thing that he's given really his entire life to education. Very deserving, of course, and he was, as always, a humorous dinner companion. I want to thank Mr. Zago and cohorts today for the meeting on volunteer pre-K. I know we told them and told you tonight pre-meeting and so forth, but most helpful. And I think you have some events planned perhaps for the future for this board to observe. We have 220 students, I hope I'm right on that, involved right now. And some discussion, preliminary plans maybe, to perhaps expand that. And I think, I can't speak for everybody here, but this board member would certainly look at that very favorably if we could do that. I want to say one other thing, if I might, Mr. Chairman, make a request. is there entirely different from what we've been talking about, is there a list anywhere of our school buildings and the outside groups that use our facilities at whatever?
Cloud would keep that.
Angel would have that? Okay, and, well, I'll just tell you then. I'd like to see that list and what, if anything, that each group pays for the use of our building, clean up, whatever it is that they pay. And would that be possible?
She has that. All of those that, yeah, they all go through her, so she would have a list. It changes constantly, obviously, but she has that.
You want me to beg Joyce to do that, or you want to beg
Well,
Joyce?
she's made a note. She's got it.
You got it?
All you have to do is speak it.
And Joyce makes a note. Okay, it's in the official record then, and I made a request for that. Thank you, Ms. Michaels, ahead of time. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
On that note, I'll share this because I know Mr. Clardy is active on this, but a lot of the energy monitoring devices that we have in place are specifically intended in part. There are so many things that they're going to afford to us, but they will allow us to monitor energy usage on those out-of-school or time periods and be able to kind of equate what they may contribute to us versus what they may actually be costing us. So, Mr. Clardy, my compliments, but I wanted to highlight in the context that you brought up there, Mr. Jordan, about our active role of valuing or putting a valuation on what's being spent and used and utilized.
Well, before we go any further in the conversation, I have got to see the list first and just kind of look it over and try to be informed on it. But I think that just generally speaking, I would very much favor that outside groups, if approved by this board, to use our buildings. I mean, after all, they belong to the taxpayers, and they're going to pay a fair share for that, which is fine. And obviously, I would support that. I just want to look at the list.
Gentlemen, I'm going to have something out of this left side if this right side is going to just...
Since Mr. Jordan brought it up, I'll say,
Thank you, Mr.
Dr. Bullen the other night, he did mention that Rutherford County was one of the best school districts in the state, and I really believe he believes that, the same as the school board here believes that. And that's another reason why the state needs to benchmark Rutherford County and try to bring all the other school districts up to the school district level. If we could just get that word out, and I think we'd be more than willing to work with those other school districts and try to help them achieve what Rutherford County has achieved.
And I hope that we'll keep the effort of someone like Dr. Bullen's, with the capital projects of 5 cents. That we won't lose sight of who started it and how it has benefited us over the years, and why our schools, even though they may have been built in 1959, that they are still hardy facilities and will be used for years to come because they're being maintained. And prior to this capital projects fund, that was not the case.
Mr. Sandvig and Mr. Clardy eloquently presented the other night the 7 cents with how it would be spent and the projects and laid them out for them to see. I thought it was received very well. It was, it wasn't a vote on, yes, we're going to give it to you, but they knew, they could see. We talked about over 7 million square feet, counting the like what was approved tonight. That's a lot of roof. That's a lot of chillers. We got 2 chillers going out right now. It's going to be replaced at Blackman. So it's expensive to keep them maintained. But I thought they were very open the other night to that part of the presentation.
Good job, gentlemen. Considered yourself patted on the back.
Mr. Chairman, yesterday I had the honor of going to Central Magnet School and seeing what their senior projects were. After going through there, I assure you that our county education system is in good shape with those smart children. They were amazing in what they presented, and it was a lot of fun. Sometimes I didn't know what they were talking about, but
They had to defend their thesis of what their presentation was. That's what
that's
they were
correct.
doing. Then their defense of that's one of the requirements for there, which is kind of, you just don't see that a lot of times till college, sometime later, or
they were good.
graduate. They were
Very
they were doing
impressive.
that.
I would have had to have an interpreter, I'm sure, Mr. Estes. All right. Anybody else? Ms. Joyce, when are we back together? Do you know? That's okay.
Is it 13th budget? 13th budget?
Okay. And the 13th.
Is the next round of the budget. Okay. Mr. Sandvik goes to a state meeting on the 11th, and so hopefully another month completes, your numbers get a little bit better, that we can kind of see, even refine it a little bit more.
Do you predict some clarity? Okay. I didn't want you to go out on a limb, but I just thought I'd ask. Okay.
I did my little spiel the other night about, at the Health and Ed about, you know, the 12 months in a year, we're going to get another month of insurance, each month's 8.5, you know, and I said, this is what we're, you know, so it should be 8.5% more for our insurance. And I turned to Mr. Sandvik, now, what have you calculated that we get? And he said 3.1%. And you could see him look at that. And I said, you know, they also said 4% raise for teachers, you know, and we putting all the money in it for the certified people. And Mr. Sandvik, the calculation, you have to get the 4.2 million, you must add the county part that we're required to pay to do to come to that number. So we talked about that a little bit, and after the meeting, the mayor said, we need to call the legislators together before they get too busy in the legislature and tell them that the numbers they hear down there are not the numbers that come to the county.
Right.
I mean, they calculate it on the state base pay for those 4% and things. It just doesn't turn out.
And it's not even a base pay or an average pay number. It is a funding factor that does not tie to any average like it did in the previous funding version way back.
They were surprised at that. They were surprised at that fact that what they'd heard news media-wise we were supposed to get, that when it translates, it's not, the percentages are really not that close.
Thank you, Mr. Odom.
Why don't you just tell them, Jeff, that we just insist on more clarity, and that, as my mother used to say, just, you know, straighten up and fly right. And why don't you just tell them that? Your 7-member board is insisting on.
I have told a couple of legislators that over the years.
How's that go? It doesn't go very well.
Okay. All right. We've we call that jocularity, I suspect. So, okay. Anything else to come before this board tonight? Good meeting. Thank you all. We will stand adjourned.